Good evening, folks. Welcome to the July 11th regular meeting of the Spencer Board of Selectmen. Would you please rise with me and make your pledge to the flag? And would you please remain standing afterwards?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just want to take a moment because it was less than a month ago that we were mourning the loss of Officer Ronald Tarantino of Auburn, the Auburn Force. And now this last week, we were terribly saddened and devastated by the fatal shooting of 5 police officers in Dallas, Texas. And on my way out the door, I hear 2 bailiffs in a courtroom in Michigan were killed today. It just reminds me of the 60s. My mother thought the world was coming apart. So I'd just like us to take a moment of silence to pray for the families of all those fallen officers, the city of Dallas, for the towns in Michigan, and also for our own community, that we may all come together and rediscover the values that compel us to support and honor the men and women in uniform who serve us and protect us daily. Thank you. Have a seat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for doing that. I also want to add that I hope there's also some feelings towards the people who appear to have been innocently murdered, not murdered, but killed by some overzealous police officers. At least that's what it looks like when you look at the video. And I will tell you right now, black people do get treated differently than white people. I've got a son-in-law that's black, and he's been pulled over more than once for DWB, driving while black, okay? Including in the town of Spencer when he was dating my daughter many, many years ago. Hasn't happened since, but I just want to mention that too. It's tragic the police officers lost their lives. It's terrible. It's criminal. But by the same token, I don't want to, myself personally, let it slide since we recognize them, and I'm glad that we did, that we recognize some of the black people who get shot for having a taillight out in their car, because that's what it looked like to me. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, it's like I said, it really is a coming together from all sides in our community, in our country. So thank you, Ralph.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
So the first order of business is the approval of the workshop meeting minutes of June 20th. I think they came to you in the mail this afternoon, email. Any comments? I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve the workshop meeting minutes of June 20th,
Seconded.
2016.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain, because I,
Oh, thank you, Gary. Right. We have opportunities for citizen input at the beginning as well as at the end. Anyone like to be heard before we start on the other items on the agenda? Donnie, would you? Hi, Donnie.
Hi. One quick thing, I come in front of the board a few months ago about 9/11 memorial. For Sweeney was, I don't know, 8 months ago, we were talking about it. Just to let you know, the Parks and Rec Committee met last week and voted to allow it and fund it through their, I don't know, what is that account, Adam?
It's a donation fund.
Okay, yeah, and they have a line item in there for that. So we marked it today, and so the plan, what they'd like to do, the Sweeney family, is dedicate it on 9/11, because it'll be the 15-year anniversary. And they'd like to do, at 11:30 in the morning, a private, family thing with the Selectmen and Parks and Rec, and just not open to the general, and then maybe plan something for the general public later on that day. And I told them I'd run that by you ahead of time, and since they supplied the piece of steel, and I didn't think that would be a problem, so just to give you an update.
And remind us where that was to be located?
Yeah, at Proudy Park.
At part of Proudy
Yeah,
Park?
back corner on an angle facing out. Parks and Rec were up there the other day, and they liked that general location, so we marked it today, and everyone's good to go, so.
And Proudy Park is looking great.
It is, yeah, they're doing a
It's a
great
super
job.
place to have those kinds of special memorials.
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may, through you. Donnie, what's the Park and Rec going to be spending money on, and how much money will they be spending?
It's $8,500 for everything, for the. it's the
And this is
monument.
from the account where they get donations?
Yep.
Because I understand there's one donor in town that's very upset that there haven't been swimming lessons. He used a fund that he's in charge of to fund.
Well, this isn't, no, this
lessons.
isn't the Parks and Rec, this is just for Proudy Park, just.
Oh, the Proudy
Yeah.
Park Committee.
Yep, not,
Thank you.
yeah, not Luther
Thank
Hill.
you.
The donation that was given specifically for that park.
Oh,
It
fine.
was like a
that-
trust fund set up specifically for
fine.
that.
Yeah, it's a trust.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking the park, our park department.
No.
Thank you, Donnie.
Yeah, that would be, that's Luther Hill, yeah.
Fine, that's great.
Yeah, it's earmarked just for that maintenance and upkeep of that.
Very nice. Okay, thank you.
So, so that's clear, that's a special, is it a GoFundMe site, or no, is it just a?
No, they have a line item in their account, so.
Okay,
So a family had donated some money to them specifically for the use of that park.
Years ago.
Yeah, many years ago.
That's been sitting there a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been there forever, since, oh my God, since '90s at least.
But just through the chair, that's entirely different than the other one. This was set up specifically for that area.
Yep.
okay.
And the piece of steel, Ann Sweeney, the sister, had gotten the piece of steel, and it's not just a piece of I-beam, it's a piece that actually, you can tell, was in one of the explosions. It's all, so that's gonna be mounted permanently on the granite monument, so. I just got, a couple days ago, the rendering. I'll send it to you guys, so you have it.
So will you be doing some publicity to alert people to the opportunity?
Yeah,
to
when it gets
donate?
closer, I guess the plan is for the company to get the monument, hang on to it, put it in a couple days just before now, so it's not sitting there, and they'll cover it and play it that way. But as it gets closer, we'll make more plans and figure out what we're gonna do.
Nice.
Are you looking for a motion to
No,
endorse it,
no.
just as an update?
No, just to let you know.
Okay,
Yeah, Parks and Rec has jurisdiction on that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But just to keep you guys updated. It had been stalled for a while because really didn't know what we were gonna do or how to mount the steel, and now it's all finally coming together, so I just wanted to update you guys, so,
I appreciate it.
all right?
Hey, great.
Perfect.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thanks, Donnie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, it's a sobering start there, and with all the headlines and all the stories. But we have an employee introduction to take care of here. We have a new police officer, Officer Brandon Fulham, where the chief is going to come forward with our new officer and tell us a bit about him, and welcome him to town.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
I have here before you Mr. Fulham. He was hired June 6th, and that brings our force complement back up to the 17 mark, which has been, since the last time was last July, and that was. He was interviewed by then acting Chief Mike Befford, along with Sergeant Edwards and Sergeant Hodgeny. Once a conditional offer was given and was tendered and was agreed upon, background investigation, physical, psychological, and drug testing were performed and passed. Brandon has an associate's degree in criminal justice from Quinsigaming Community College, and he graduated from the New Braintree State Police Academy as a full-time police officer. And he has 5 years of full-time experience with North Brookfield and Amherst Police Departments. Brandon Fulham.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Welcome. Our first item of new business is request for license to hold a Spencer Fair by the Spencer Agricultural Association from September 2nd through September 5th, 2016. Oh. We don't have paperwork, but we have people coming to present. Oh, there's other paperwork, but this is just for the fair itself.
Yep.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hi, Bob.
Give us a few highlights of the fair that's coming
Excuse me,
this year.
John, could they identify themselves?
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry, of course.
I am Bob Knight, President of the Spencer Fair.
Hi, Bob.
I'm Todd Kibbe, the treasurer.
Okay.
This year, very similar to past years, we're going to have Country and Western Star, Brook Eden. We were able to get a polka band out of Connecticut, the Maestro Boys. Galaxy Girl, she's up on a 90-foot pole spinning around. Pretty much the same stuff as every year, but tried to add a few new acts here and there. We're in the process of trying to put up a new building this year to try to get away from the tents. So we're in the process of trying to get that through and get that started. Better the grounds and make it easy to take care of and put less money out. Tents are very expensive.
Questions about the fair? We have we do a couple other items related to just.
Now I make a motion to approve the one-way traffic pattern as
Well,
requested.
the first one's the
Yeah.
entertainment route.
Pardon me?
The first one is just, we need to get this.
There's three
Okay,
actions.
they're not-
Yes,
okay,
there's,
they're not
the first
each
one is a license to hold the fair.
Yep.
Okay, to hold the fair, I'm sorry.
There was not a special paperwork on that, so
Okay,
entertain a motion.
so moved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you have your fair.
Yes,
Now
we
the-
all have our fair.
Hopefully no affairs.
Just curious, what tents would you be replacing?
The chicken and rabbit tents.
Oh,
Yeah. They're the only animals we don't have under a permanent
Oh, that's-
right now, so.
forgot that, that's true. All right, oh, good.
How
It's-
big, excuse me, how big's the building gonna be?
Be 80 by 120.
So
replacing two
be
tents.
one large building
Yep.
replacing
instead of
both.
replace two
Great.
tents, yeah.
No, the grounds are really lovely. I mean, with especially the paved walkways, the grassy sections, it's,
And actually, the grounds are pretty much being used all summer long with off-season rentals, rabbit shows, dog shows, music festivals. You know, we have to make it available all year.
I know we've had some discussions about that. It's great to see.
Yes.
You know, look forward to getting those events, publicized through the
Yep.
select board and
Yes.
all the town venues. Now, the next item is for, we've had this request in the past for a one-way traffic pattern on Smithville Road, Smithville Cross Road for the Spencer Fair during that duration of the fair from September 2nd to September 5th, 2016. It's slight, as you acknowledge, slightly disruptive, but it really keeps traffic moving.
Yeah, it's about the only way
Keeps
we
it moving,
can.
makes it
Yeah.
a lot safer too, yeah.
Yes, yeah, it really.
We did get quite a backup
good
last
control.
year, though,
Yeah?
Friday nights, it's a big night. One of our biggest ever last year,
Great.
It's good to hear.
yeah.
So moved.
Actually, last year was our biggest fair ever. Biggest
Really?
turnout
Wow.
we've ever had.
I've heard that it was, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last is for the application for a Sunday entertainment license. It's required by the state only for Sunday by the Agricultural Association, and it'll be on September 4th. And you already highlighted some of the acts. Western Band, Western Singer, High Wire Act, Petting Zoo, Balloon Act, Truck Pull. Some familiar ones and some new
Yep.
ones. It's always nice to,
Yep.
some new things.
Try to
along.
mix it up a little.
Yes.
Changing it up a little, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
Seconded.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we could pass a motion to guarantee a great weather, we'd do that, but I'm sorry we can't do that.
Hey, we take rain insurance. You can get insurance for anything now.
Yeah, I bet you can. Well, good luck. Hope it's another banner
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good,
Thank you.
good fair.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
season for you. Okay, the next item is, we have representatives from Barnstorm Cycles to come forward. Jake Cutler and Lynn, I forget, McDonough. I'm sorry, I preempted you. You're supposed to introduce yourselves.
I'm Jacob Cutler.
Lynn McDonough.
Great to have you. We have some action on Wall Street, but tell us about the event to begin with, Jake.
So we have done, every year Barnstorm has been in business. We've done a open barn. Historically, it's been done in the wintertime, just as an, kind of break up the winter for the motorcyclists, because the winter can be long in New England. So it's an opportunity to bring our friends and customers in to just hang out and talk about motorcycles. And last year, we did one during the riding season, and it was a success. So we decided to try again this year. And yeah, it was a good time, and we anticipate a larger crowd than last year, so we figured we would get a police detail and see if we could close the road down to keep it a little bit safer, and make sure that the experience is better for our attendees and also for the town and our neighbors and such. So,
And you've got a motorcycle stunt team?
Yeah, so there's the possibility of some friends of ours, they have a licensed and insured stunt team, and they've been performing at local motorcycle dealerships in the area, from as local as Auburn to down south a little bit, and they have some stuff in Vermont coming up and things like that. So it's typically, it's a few $1,000s for them to show up and perform, but because they're friends of ours, they said they would do it pro bono if we could make it happen on our end. So we figured we'd ask. But, yeah.
I understand, you've provided us a link there to get a look at it
Yeah,
online.
yeah, they're pretty talented. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but
Always disclaimers,
it's
right?
better to
Yeah.
watch than to do.
Yeah, but they're very talented.
Yeah.
And very professional.
So the application is to request to shut down Wall Street from Main Street to Lloyd Dyer Drive on July 17th from 1 to 6 for the annual open barn. And you said the peak of the event is generally around 3 or so, that's when.
Yeah, we
obviously
expect
most of
that to be
folks-
about when people roll in. There's always some early birds. Usually things get going kind of midway through the event, and then we try to end it at a reasonable time so that there's not too much noise. Because motorcycles do have an inherent amount of noise that they generate. So in the winter, it's not a problem because no one shows up on their bike, but in the
Plus
summer.
it's 70 degrees
Yeah.
like last year.
Yeah.
You have questions from the board on the
I don't
event?
think so, thank you.
Make a motion.
I just, for the, Brenda provided us with background. I understand you had a complaint about the noise last year, and I commend you guys for, for reaching out to your neighbors. You've been great neighbors down there. I know you've got signs out down there about being respectful, and I really hope it's a great success. People, as I was saying to you before the meeting, fondly recall the days when we, closed off Mechanic Street for block parties, and I know this is, I hope people will take advantage of the day. I hope you have great weather. It's, when Main Street gets reconfigured, get even more attention, but
Thank you.
really wish you luck on that, so,
Appreciate it.
yeah, great to have you down there, and you're developing quite a,
I hope everybody can come.
Oh, I've got
You know what
it
I
on my
mean?
calendar already.
Everyone's invited.
no, I'll look forward to it. Again, Chris, yeah,
I'll make a motion.
okay?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we also have a request for an entertainment license. That would be for the Grimm Company Stunt Team. That's separate from closing the street.
So move.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very
All
good.
set,
luck to you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
we'll see you down there.
Thank you
Very
Hope to
good.
see you
Great
there.
success.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Next item is a one-day special alcohol, wine, and malt license from the request of the American Legion for motorcycle ride fundraiser on August 20th.
Evening.
Howdy.
How
Jerry
do?
Perrin, Post 138.
Hey, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
How are you?
It's excellent. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
It's our annual ride, doing a ride down through Connecticut and back. And we'll be setting up tents in the back in the parking lot. And we're going to have beer and wine. There'll probably be some, the bar's open inside the building. We're not actually going to serve alcohol outside, but we'll be taking it out in cups and stuff out into the thing. So we wanted to get our annual alcohol permit for that. In the past, we've had kegs of beer and stuff out there. Our rides were a lot larger then. They seem to be getting a lot smaller, so we can pretty much house everybody inside, but we're gonna be doing stuff outside too, so,
So they will get the beverages inside
yeah,
and bring them out?
right.
Only the beer
Right.
and malt, beer and wine. Okay. And what time do you start, do you return? I know I always look forward to the.
We usually
to,
return
rumble down Main
anywhere
Street,
between 1 and 2 o'clock.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're all set, Jerry.
Of course, our doors are open, everybody else, you don't have to have a motorcycle to come to
Oh,
our event too.
I go every year.
There'll
I'll
be
be
a lot of
there.
games and,
See you there. Look forward to it. It's nice to have regular events on the summer calendar.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Now, the next item involves a policy introduction. And the policies introduce, new policies are introduced on a board meeting and followed up on the next one, or?
Correct. So a couple things going on. So one of the things we'd like to do tonight is introduce a policy, and obviously there's a lot of background that we'd like to go into. I'll introduce the chief in a second. But just to summarize the policy creation process through the Board of Selectmen, you're obviously the chief policy setting board of the community. A lot of stuff comes through you for specific departments, and then they, like you'll see one later on tonight, that get carried on through staff, and then there's other ones that are big picture stuff, such as the one you have in front of you tonight. So with that, I forwarded you some background, along with a memo from the chief, and some additional information regarding a mentoring program that he's going to get tonight, and he has some special guests. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Great.
And I know the chief will introduce everybody in a second. So, but the background obviously is there's an epidemic going on throughout the country, throughout the state, and here in Massachusetts, as I described, the different administrations, from the federal government to the Baker administration, before him, the Patrick administration, and the things that they've been trying to do to help curb the opioid-related deaths and overdoses that occur in our communities. So obviously, enforcement is always an ongoing issue. It's always something that we're working on, but this problem goes well above and beyond that, as everybody knows. And the multi-pronged approach that the chief's going to describe involves additional items such as education, treatment and recovery and prevention, and utilizing the different partnerships and relationships that we have at the state level and through social organizations. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the chief, Chief Dave Darren. He can go through his memo and his suggestion for local strategy that we'd like to employ through your support and through the adoption of a policy after.
Good evening again.
Chief.
So what we're looking at is a three-pronged approach. The first being a public meeting and presentation by the District Attorney's Opiate Task Force, and that's going to be hosted by the school district and sponsored by the Spencer Police Department. We've been in touch with the District Attorney's office, and they're on board with that, and so is the school. We just haven't firmed up a date. We're going to do that, and that'll be open not only to teachers and parents and students, but also to the citizenry at large, and they're also going to reach out to the folks, the parents in such a Bay Path, since that's part of their system. Part two would be presentations by the Spencer Police Department to the high school and junior high school students. We haven't firmed that up yet, but we just met with the superintendent this past week. They're on board with that. They want this to happen. And it's in regards to the opiate crisis as far as the impact, how it goes. It's not going to be really from an enforcement standpoint. It's going to focus on, if you need help, where the help is, and basically what it can do, what it does to you as an individual, and what it does to the folks that you love. And lastly, the creation of a mentor advocate program where we have a series of trained individuals living locally who will provide information to substance abusers and their families about treatment and rehabilitation options. And to achieve this, it's going to be a breakup, two parts in this one. Part of it will be this entire three-pronged approach will be administered by the advisory committee, which the addiction advisory committee, which the administrator will bring up after I'm finished. But I intend to partner with the 24/7 Help Task Force and the three individuals sitting behind me, Laura, Jetty, Paul, LaCava, and Ed Gardella, are involved there. And what they will do is they will help us in two ways. They will help us select individuals for this mentor program. They will provide the 10 hours of training free of charge to those who we've identified that want to participate. And they will also provide a little introductory card that we plan on handing out when we respond to overdose situations, or anybody that wants them, that have availability of all resources in central Worcester County and southern Worcester County, including how to get in touch with a mentor if they choose to. And like I said, there's lots of other information from here instead of reading it all. If you've got specific questions or would like to speak to one of the folks behind me, that's why I wanted to make sure that we were all here. But I think we should probably touch on the committee first, because they're going to be kind of the steering committee behind this. They're going to be looking at not only these strategies, but selecting individuals for the mentor program. Once we start interviewing people in being involved in the community, they will then come back to the committee and report to them as far as how things go, and then where things are going to go in the future with specific individuals. And also select additional options on where to go, whether it's expanding the committee, whether it's expanding the number of advocates we have, or taking on a new variety of approaches that we haven't yet touched on.
So again, the policy creation that you would do is tonight is we would introduce the policy. You'd skip the workshop, it can't be adopted at a workshop. However,
Right.
the reason we do that is so if you need additional information, additional discussion, you have a workshop in between, and then you would come back at a later business meeting to adopt, revise as you see fit. So again, as the chief described, the policy is set up and designed to create a committee of people that are representative and knowledgeable of the issue here in our community. We have people on the front line, the first responders, if you will, being representatives of chief of police or his designee, the fire chief or his designee, the EMS medical director or designee, which again is Spencer Rescue Squad, the Board of Health agent, who has access to a lot of resources through the public health division here at the state level, our superintendent of schools, obviously because there's impact to the youth of our community by this epidemic. And then to get additional support and guidance, one member of the Board of Selectmen and one citizen at large. So this committee would be essentially a subcommittee that's created, again, to guide this process here in the community. The chief, based on his memorandum, his research, his discussions with his network, we've assigned a few strategies to the charge. Those are the first several ones that you see, and we've also left it open such that they can tailor their strategies, their discussions, based on what's working, what's not, based on new ideas that come out, new information, or new relationships that they encounter at the state level or through a regional effort, through other communities, or whatever. I think what you'll find is a lot of communities are again, this is new territory for us in terms of entering into this social realm, if you will, with this particular issue here. The chief has done his research based on the size of our community and what we're dealing with, has outlined the strategy, working again with our partners at the state, with the school, and also social organizations like you have here with the Mentor Advocate Program. So with that, I would ask tonight that you review the policy. It's introduced. If you feel you need additional information, please let the chief or myself know, and then we can either come back at the workshop or either next week, and then again in August adopt the charge, and that would allow this group of 7 to begin to meet and implement the program immediately upon the adoption of the policy.
Mr. Chairman?
No?
Yeah. Chief, you're gonna address the students at the high school? How about the middle school?
They're going to do high school and middle school.
Okay. My concern is it's a one-shot deal. My experience in education as an educational leader tells me the best training is training that is continuous. That doesn't mean you're up there every day, but it seems to me we would have more success if periodically you could follow up on that. To take it one step further, if somebody were in the building on a regular basis, let's say every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, just to make up the time, all right? To talk to anybody, any student who may have even a teacher that may have a concern. Teacher may know of a student who they suspect is, got a problem. Is there any possibility of including that in your policy?
This is just a start, so that may very well end up being the case, where we do it on a repeated basis throughout the year. I think that's something I have to work out with the school, whether that's possible as far as their curriculum goes, because they have a difficulty thing. I think they're gonna squeeze us in under physical education so that it fits their block time and stuff, but we're definitely open to that.
Every child has to take physical education during the course of a year, according to state law. So they should be able to fit you in there without any problem at
Right.
all. Not every child, however, takes physical education for the entire year. So it may even be that, some of this takes place right after school. I don't know. I'm not the superintendent of schools up there, but it seems to me this is an important enough issue that they ought to be bending over backwards to accommodate you in any way, shape, and form that they can. And if they can't, I want to know about it, and I will make sure that they do.
We're definitely open to that, and like I said, where they are their designee or part of the committee, we'll definitely have that interaction with every meeting, so. I hear you.
Thank you.
I would also hope, Ralph, that that's part of the discussion the committee will have, the
Certainly.
kind of presence and, on ways to reinforce that message.
Definitely.
So that becomes.
I
part of
agree with the
discussion.
repetitive nature of it. It's gonna stick more if they hear it more often. Definitely.
For somebody who doesn't have a problem today, chief, 3 or 6 months down the road could. And maybe when they heard your presentation, they were busy thinking about lunch
Right.
or their girlfriend or boyfriend or any one of a million things that the teenage mind rambles on about.
You don't know what stage in their life you're catching them at.
Right.
So you could hit them right before, right after, exactly,
Right.
exactly so.
So by having it periodically at least, you got a better chance of getting them when it's gonna hit them.
I agree.
mean, it's a huge issue in society, and it's an issue, and there isn't a school around that doesn't have a problem with this issue.
I agree
If
100%.
anybody says that they do, they're lying. So, we'll talk some more at policy sub, and also, if this can't be included at this time, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna insist that this policy be reviewed in 6 months or a year.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, and not to interrupt you, Ralph, but
Quite all right, Gary.
I had a conversation with the chief about this, and this is kind of like laying the foundation, because if we sit back and we do nothing, nothing happens.
We have to do
This is a
something.
good start. I did speak to the chief, and I talked to him about the Mass Police Chiefs Association, like I belong to Mass Dealers Association, and they have an open line of communication, and hopefully, as somebody has to tweak theirs, it could bring it into ours and make it a better, stronger program. So just so the board is aware, this is to lay the foundation, get things in place, and build off of it. It doesn't mean that this is all etched in stone, so.
But repeating this, I can assure you, it'll be part of my discussion during this is repeating what we do at the school will be one of the first topics of discussion as far as what are we gonna do to drive this home throughout the year. So I agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you, chief.
Sure.
If I could, Chris, you have anything right now? Or- Okay. Maybe it's a way of bringing in members of the task force you brought with you, chief, but as far as the aiming the message at students in the school district, I'm interested in understanding that relationship with the fact that the users the population that most at risk tend to be older. So is this a way of, so what is the message at the younger age? Maybe you could talk about the populations affected and what the strategy is.
I'll put them with this, I'll hand this off to those folks, but for me, it's, I think it starts there. The addiction may not start there, but I think the use starts there, especially when it's in the pharmaceutical form. The opiates in the pharmaceutical form, they're used for sports injuries and things of that nature. So the education, I think, needs to be started there, so that the foundation is laid, so that when they're in a position that they understand what kind of chemicals they're putting into their body, what the impacts are for those folks that have turned to abuse. And I think it's better to know before than it is. I think we have better success before than we usually do after the fact, once it's gotten a hold of you. So I think that's my put behind it. But when I'll have these folks come up here and readdress that, if you like.
Yes, it would be interesting to hear their perspective and experience on this issue as well.
3 of us and among 24 other people that are volunteers coupled this rough concept. And my name is Paul LaCavra, and the point of the school department is extremely interesting and really important. And this program, the way it's laid out, could be massaged, whereas one of the life coaches, or one of the champions, as we call it in a particular form, may be trained to be available for the school department, as I think as the selectman said, somebody that wants to reach out to that person for additional types of information. So this is Spencer's program. It's just a rough concept that a bunch of volunteers, former Worcester Police Chief and Laura working with addiction out of the DA's office, and myself, I teach psychology and sociology, and my first job was working with addicts out in the street, midnight to 8, public inebriate program. But it's an approach to reach out to all age brackets, to give them that care, to give them that mentoring, to give them that next step, to go seek further information. None of the advocates are clinicians or professionals per se. They are people that will be trained to know where to go, where to direct, where to encourage, where to massage and carry somebody forward in their battle of addiction, or their battle if their parents have problems, or their children have problems, or their siblings have problems. So that's how it is cared for. I applaud the town and the chief with the addiction advisory committee. I would assume that you'll be one of the first towns to have a structured organization, committee, monitoring the level of problem, the different approaches, and different techniques that may enhance the quality for all our children, all citizens at large in the community. So that's how it's shaped. It can fit all different age brackets, and the champion program and the mentor program is shaped where it can deal with a whole array of problems as it matures and develops under the guidance of the advisory committee. And Chief, from your experience in working as co-founder, did I miss?
Well, I want to back up just a little bit. Several months ago, we are part of an organization called the 365Z Foundation. And we met with the Lieutenant Governor and the families of 7 or 8 youngsters who had accidentally or not taken their own lives. And what was a recurring theme among these parents is we didn't know who to call. They knew there was some problem, either with one form of drug or a mental health condition. They didn't know who to call. Now, many of us would think that's absurd. There's numbers everywhere, there's advertising everywhere, who to call, but they didn't know. And we checked with AdCare Hospital, Dr. Muchowski up there, who we have a close relationship with her, and she said, we hear that all the time. And Laura and her program at the district attorney's office, they hear this all the time. People don't know who to call. So we thought initially, we've got to get the word out. How do we get the word out to the average family? Because that's who it's striking, the average family. Whether it's mental health conditions or drug addiction. How do we get that out? Well, a police agency is a wonderful way to do it. So we decided, we thought about a card, that each card, as the chief mentioned earlier, would have a whole host of numbers that people can call, and each card will be identified by the town by the picture on the front of the card. And certainly it goes beyond that. But there is no blueprint wherever you look, and the Mass Chiefs will tell you this, there is no blueprint of programs that are getting started. What we have tried to do is put together an all-encompassing program that can be tweaked, that can be massaged for your community. This is not our program, this becomes your program. It involves your citizens, your town leaders, your police department, your school kids. It involves everybody. And it's nothing that we are selling to you. It's a recommendation on a program that you can adjust and adapt for your own community needs.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't really have a question, but I guess I have a comment, is that, and I applaud everybody for jumping on this because, and I like the idea of the cards, and I like that information being out there. I guess when you know somebody whose family is touched through this, and like the chief said, they start out in sports, they get hurt, they're on pain pills, and those pain pills run out, and the cost on the street is probably $40 a pill, and the option is, can you spend $10? Unfortunately, that's what we live in. And when somebody comes out of court on a Friday and is released, and you hope they're getting help, and they OD on a Sunday, that's pretty sad. So I applaud you for taking this initiative and moving in that direction. Because I think the numbers, and not so much for somebody who's addicted, but more for somebody who is, has a family member that's trying to direct and organize and try, you can't drag them, I get that, but maybe just for the help of the family and themselves. So for that, I applaud you. I think this is the right step. I think it's the right move. We happen to have Donnie, who's a state rep, and from their side, it seems to be taking a role of its own. So hopefully with the support of the state, with what we're doing in town, we'll move forward and maybe save somebody. So I applaud you for that.
Chief, welcome your task force members to respond to this. When it comes to treatment, are there some special directions you send people in, or is it all through their own insurance or through existing state programs? Does it come back to their regular insurance coverage, or? What are the options?
Please.
The people that are trained as, we call them champions, because everybody deserves a champion, partners with them to go through this.
Much more appropriate.
Yeah, that's great.
And again, I think it makes a big difference that there's somebody by your side when you're going through these challenging times that are still have hope in you and trust and believe, know that. The advocates will be trained, the champions will be trained on what is available, whether it be current agencies such as AdCare, different meeting groups, etc. We also made a connection with some individuals that have been used, that this source has been used already out in California, where they have a surplus of beds. And if you have the appropriate insurance, you're able to pretty much have an immediate admission to that particular program. The advocate or champion will be trained in all aspects of the fight with the disease, to conquer the disease. Because one shoe does not fit all. My outpatient may be appropriate for me, and I may respond to outpatient. Detoxification may be important to me, more of a long-term halfway house, the whole pathology of the disease. They'll be trained on, here are the options. They're not counselors, but here's the option for your child. Here's what you need to know to help your child. Here's what you need to know to get your child into that particular program. So the pathology of it, they'll be trained. The resources that are available, they'll be trained. Educational information relative to what to look for, they'll be trained in. What kind of pushback may you receive from your son or daughter relative to the battle of overcoming addiction?
That's why the word champion is so apropos in this particular case, because when you look at it, there's usually the addicted party, and then there's the treatment. And for a mind that is not clear, they really need a champion to navigate this gulf. And now they have that, or they will have that. That's our goal, to fulfill that. Now, what do I do? Where do I go? This is what I want. I don't know how to get there. I know it's available to someone somehow, but I just need someone to help me navigate. So we're not gonna do all and everything. We're just gonna make sure they have the option, those that want it and have made up their mind that they need it. They've got a clear head that's going to be their champion to designate and to push them into or not even to push them, but to guide them through to the services that they need.
Mr. Chairman, it may be of some interest. There was a meeting in Worcester a couple of weeks ago. There's been a lot of meetings throughout the Commonwealth on the issue that we discussed. And several people got up to say, well, if we could only get some more federal funding, if we could get some more state funding, we could do a heck of a program here. This program costs nothing. This is done with volunteers, local people who are concerned about their community, their kids, their neighbors, and who do this with all the best intentions. It costs not a dime.
It's proportional for our problem. It's something that's sustainable, even with limited resources. It's not something that we'll say once the heat is turned off, that now we're just gonna drop this. This is something that we can keep going with. regardless, even on a very, very limited budget, which we all obviously have. And it's also something, as they've hinted to, that once we feel that we've gotten a handle on things, that maybe we could look at other forms of addiction or other forms of health issues that require this type of guidance, whether it be mental health or whether it be other forms of addiction, alcohol or other drugs. I mean, that's a long time down the road. We make sure we're making an impact and first and not get our muddy the waters too much, but there's room for it to grow. It's not gonna just disappear and wither on the vine once the interest goes elsewhere.
I would also add to that, Chief, it's also an opportunity for the town to tap into other organizations, the church groups and other, charitable groups and service organizations. Like you say, it's a one-on-one program that requires that kind of commitment that we see people in communities rise to the occasion, to meet, because it's not some new monstrous program that you have to deal in. It's really
Exactly
intensely
right. It's gonna be
personal.
something where we're gonna be putting the word out at a certain point, including tonight, that we're gonna be looking for these mentor advocates. And it's the time to decide whether I'm gonna talk the talk or walk the walk. And if you wanna help, we got a place for you. It's not a lot of time, but it's really critical to do. And it's something that if you want to be involved, we've got a place for you.
It sounds like one of the things this committee would do is figure out a way to reach out to identify potential advocates.
Exactly so, and then
information
determine them and
sessions.
then facilitate their training. Exactly.
Great stuff.
That's,
Through the
no,
chair.
it's, yes, go ahead, Chris.
Excuse me, Chief, but I hear treating the problem. When we figure out there's a problem, how are we gonna address the problem of selling it to them? Are we stepping up patrols, enforcement, known areas, known houses? Because that's where it starts.
But I think everyone, well, I kind of would disagree with it, because the dealers are only there because they have customers. So for years and years, as you watch the federal government chase around drug dealers, there's always somebody else to pop up in their mind. Not that we're giving up on that, because we have a limited drug program, we have a limited resources, we do what we can. I'm convinced for the most part, most of the drugs come from outside the community. We just happen to be in a close proximity to a city where there's a plentiful amount of drugs, and we've got a lot of low-income rental property that avails itself of folks that may be abusing. That aside, this isn't the problem that we're going to arrest ourselves out of. I think the biggest way to do it is not to cut off the head of the snake going after the dealer, which we'll continue to do, but to dry up his customer base and then make it so that it's not so lucrative. And then that's how you'll end up, the dealers will disappear.
See, I mean, statistically, you get one person off the drug, there's 3, 4, 5 more going on it.
Exactly.
So if they still have that supplier there,
But the supplier will be there the minute we arrest them. Besides, you have to arrest them 3 or 4
I
times
think
before
we
they end
need
up
to
going to
do
jail.
more in enforcement also.
It's part of the program, but it's not, it's a very minuscule part of it. It's, in other words, this is an addiction part of the program. I think everyone from the president on down has agreed this isn't something that we're going to arrest our way out of. We're not forgetting about that part of it, but this part of it has nothing to do with that.
I mean, you can drive down certain streets in town and everybody who's a resident of this town knows where the problem area is, knows the problem homes.
It's also not what you know, it's
When
what you can prove.
Cumberland Farms leaves because you see people on motorcycles making drug deals and you call and then they go away. There's an issue. We still have to address that.
Oh, I agree with you.
Not forget about that.
I agree with you, and we haven't. Show you that.
We have to be,
Through the chair, and just to follow up, that was part of my conversation with the chief, and policing is never gonna stop. This is just, this is something that we, a policy to go into place so that the ones we know, and just because I happen to have a father living there, is you can go to a senior housing complex and see this happen. So it's not just, it's gonna happen in a drug house, it's gonna happen on the corner of the street, it's gonna happen in the school. This happens in every walk of life. So if you're living in housing for the elderly and somebody visits, you're faced with this problem. So I did have the conversation with the chief. Our policing process is not ending as far as is still chasing the drugs, but for the people who do OD and you do save them, it's an avenue that maybe at that point you're hitting at the I guess, at the right time to try to convince somebody who's just been saved because you hit them with Narcan, that maybe the next time they won't get saved. Not saying it's gonna happen, because we've seen it, but, so, just so the board knows, is we're not giving up on that policing. We're still doing that.
I think if you look at our statistics, you'll see that we don't give up on policing.
Right.
Maybe you could take advantage of, I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't, your
My name is Laura Jetty.
Laura, perspective of the district attorney's office on this issue of
I'm not
enforcement.
here representing the district attorney's
Oh.
office. This
You
is
just-
my own
right.
interest.
Oh, I see.
I've had a family member who also was addicted to heroin, and she is no longer with us.
I see.
I just want to make it clear with the advocacy program that hopefully that we can get started here in your town is not just for the addict, but it's for the families. Because I witness the families every single day in my job who had nowhere to turn, didn't know where to turn, and don't have any support. And I'm hoping that our program will be an encouragement to these families, no matter what the dynamics are. And like you said, work with other agencies in town, churches and other different programs. Because generally what I see is there's other issues within the home that hopefully we can build on that base and make your community a better community and a stronger community, because now you're reaching out to each other and not outside.
Sounds like that champion is also championing the family as well in the process.
Yes, it's a big part of it is championing the family as well.
Mr. Chairman, a question, Chief, probably these three folks are better to answer it than you. Is this program being used elsewhere?
No, sir, no, through his chair. Well, the group that met, different walks, former Deputy Commissioner of Health and Human Services, some law enforcement, some teachers, so forth and so on. And they're individuals that have worked on other foundations with us that we put together. Our other foundations, there's no staff. We just hope to bring people in to improve the fabric and health of the community. So we had some recommendations. We wanted to find a pilot area, at least to show what we had as a concept. And if it fit the area, then all can learn from it. Other communities may learn from it, and it could be adapted. And one additional piece is, as the select person, Mr. Woodbury, I don't have my glasses on, and he's correct, and we're working long-term, hopefully, on what we call, everybody has a first aid kit for physical ailments. No one has a first aid kit in their home for mental health issues. And we're hoping down the line to bring additional tools as a volunteer group to the community that they can use as a tool resource to effectuate change in all age brackets within the community, to make us a healthier community. And that's, we're retired, we're sort of looking to do something good.
This is the airplane's maiden voyage.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Although we have spoken with law enforcement officers from Worcester State Police.
Yeah.
Who are involved with all of this process.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Thank you.
As many folks know, the topic came up, a citizen input of a couple meetings ago, and we tried to reassure the person who made the comment that we're working on it, but it's such a lame answer so often. But I'm really pleased to see you here today, and this is an issue I want everybody to know we're taking seriously, and you're trying to bring all resources to bear. And I think it says a lot about Spencer that we're not just staying within the town lines here to solve it on our own. It's obviously something much bigger than that, and it's nationwide. And I like the idea of involving the community and that level. I mean, really, people are really invested in change, and also the opportunity to present to address other issues of that altogether healthy lifestyle, so.
And this is something we've been working on for a while. It's not, we're not going to jump at it just because somebody's pounding their fist in the back.
No, you're,
We want to be able to come up with something that was of value and something that we could sustain. I've been in this community now, going on 19 years, And it's something that we have to sustain to maintain credibility. It can't just be, yeah, we've got a grant, we're gonna do it, the grant runs out, we're done. This is something that we'll be able to sustain through the long haul, even with limited means.
And it's not the only area where, you know, where the town, the select board, other, and, you know, people in different departments are aware of a problem. Very often, you know, you like to have it together before you know,
Exactly.
announce anything. And,
Exactly so.
but it's to reassure people who, you know, there are a lot of things that are going on beneath the surface that, you know, take a while to, you know, come to the top that we can announce in a
Exactly so.
formal way. So really pleased you all could join us today, and look forward to working with you and you know, to sharing our results with other communities. I think it's great that we're on the front lines here.
And
Oh, please.
I want you to know how terrific it has been working with Chief Darren. He welcomed us in immediately, listened with open ears, and had so many suggestions that we would have not known about your own personal community, and added that personal touch. But he, obviously, this was an important issue with the chief. And so we want to tip our hats to him.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Chief.
And Chief, before you go, well, you're not going, we still got you next. But, and just to follow up on what John said, because we have been asked, your three-prong approach does include a public meeting and presentation.
Exactly.
So I think it's important that people who aren't.
And that's gonna be another little aspect of it. It's gonna be the district attorney's opiate task force and his perspective on things from what they see at that level,
Okay. I just wanted to reconfirm that so that people.
definitely.
Something that I'd like to have on cable, and we can.
Once we pin it down, we'll get we'll get the information to you.
Okay.
The dates are.
Thank you.
Great start.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Chief.
So I will add the policy adoption, if you will, to the first business meeting in August.
If they have any questions.
If you have any questions, you can bring it up next week at the workshop, or email me, or, you know, feel free to reach out to the chief, and we'll look forward to get it going as soon as we can.
So we'll have that as an item on next week's workshop, just in case.
Well, I can add it there for.
Yeah, just, yep, I'd say plan on it, so we have an opportunity to,
Yep.
you know, think about this and bring it up and review it, and,
Well, I will do that. Well, at the end of the night, we should talk about next week's agenda.
yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and we are on to, the chief is
6H.
staying there because we have another policy introduction. Adam, you want to introduce this?
Sure. As you know, social media is a part of our lives, and is becoming even a greater part of the role of government. So we have, this will be our second policy regarding the use of social media. The first policy was through the fire department. As you recall, Chief Parsons was here introducing that policy, which was further adopted and then incorporated into his big book of policies. The Police Chief Darren is looking to do the same. Obviously, there's a public safety element here. Through the use of social media, provides another outlet to get information out on, you know, either different events like the forum he's looking to hold, or different public community events such as the child safety check, safety C check, and other things. And obviously, you know, be on the lookout for X and other types of public safety uses. So with that, I'll turn it over to the chief. He's got a policy that has an introduction, procedures, departmental uses, and description of personal use. And he can talk about how he intends to utilize this outlet once the policy is adopted.
Assuming you folks have already read through this, basically what I won't read exactly, but I'll just touch on different points of it, and then you can, if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer. It's our intent to deploy a Facebook and Twitter page once this is officially approved. And basically it touches on all aspects of what we'll use it for, three parts really, what we'll use it for, what we expect those who use it to do and not to do, and also folks that work for us that are involved in social media in their own private lives, how that comes into it. And I'll just touch quickly As far as the procedures goes, it's going to be administered by me, obviously, and folks that have been trained, and we've all had a variety of training, from the International Association of Chiefs of Police to the Mass Chiefs of Police to the FBI, as far as the deployment of social media from a municipal standpoint, especially with police departments goes. The procedures touch on that we have to abide by the law, that we avoid the use of profanities and off-topic comments and personal attacks. Section E is when I said what we do, what those involved do with it as far as a code of conduct goes, not making any comments about anybody that's under arrest or concerning prosecutions, not to post any department-related information, those kind of things. That's within in the Section E. The departmental uses is what Adam touched on, the social media as far as what we can use it for as a law enforcement agency, as far as community outreach, passing along time-sensitive information, looking for missing and wanted persons, things of that nature. And then lastly, personal use as far as the officers go. And yes, there's free speech involved, and it mentions that, but also free speech is limited when it involves you as a public official giving out information that you learn as a result of the job. And also, it reminds them what they can do and can't do from a legal standpoint as far as what they do, as far as their individual voices and expression of opinions go. And then also, just a strong suggestion saying that these things may not necessarily be, they may still be considered free speech, but not a wise course of how to proceed. Is you're gonna monitor your own social media page, and then also to be involved, be mindful of your privacy settings. That what you put on there most likely is gonna be seen by others, and it's gonna be there forever out in space. So I'd be happy to comment anything specific that you have, or any questions about any specific item. But in a nutshell, that's kind of where we're going with it.
Question, Ralph?
Under personal use, item 2, as public employees, department personnel are cautioned that speech on or off duty made pursuant to their official duties is not protected speech under the First Amendment and may form the basis for discipline if deemed detrimental to the department. I understand when they're on duty.
So that would be like if they were off duty and they said, while I was on duty, this person came in and talked to me about this, this, and this.
Okay.
That's
Obviously,
what it means.
they can't
So in
do
other-
that.
Exactly.
I mean, they're,
That's why, as far as the off-duty part of it, that's why it specifically mentions that it's in relation to their official duty. So really, if they were
Okay.
working versus not working, and they say described an accident that they went to, what difference does it make whether they're on or off duty? It's still divulging
yeah,
stuff that they're
information.
not supposed to, exactly. But that's what that means.
Yeah.
That's the intent of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think off-duty, if they want to, it's a fine line, chief. I know that. It's a fine line.
That's why I think I needed to, it's expansive. It's almost the largest part of the, policy, because I don't want to infringe. And obviously, just so that you know, before we get to this point, this has gone through the union and met with their approval.
Okay,
So the rank and file are happy with what restrictions I've put on their personal use, as far as that goes. So they've approved this before we get to this step.
are you familiar with the Pickering decision, U.S. Supreme Court?
I am not. If you go through, give me more than the title, then I probably.
Well,
probably am.
what Pickering said was, here's the danger with me teaching a school law course to would-be administrators. But I've known about Pickering a long time. And Pickering says basically the teachers do not shed their constitutional right at the schoolhouse door. The same obviously would be true with a police officer, his or her constitutional rights at the door of the police station. But it's a very fine line. I mean, if a teacher wants to, Pickering was a teacher who wrote a letter to the editor, all right? He wrote the letter, and he claimed that the school department was wasn't spending the funds wisely, and criticized the operation of the school department, all right? Pickering was disciplined, and it went through various court levels, finally went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court made that statement about not shedding your right at the schoolhouse door. The fine line is that it was his opinion in terms of how the money was being spent. The court went further and said that as a teacher, he had a right to question how the money is being spent in the school department. The one thing that may not pertain to the police department, because we have such a small department, is that he was criticizing the superintendent and other higher officials, all right, that he did not work for directly, but indirectly, obviously. Your police officers work for you directly. And this isn't the city of Boston with, you know, all kinds of layers of leadership and whatnot. So, but I do, yeah, I have a small amount of concern about that particular item. But if you've run it by the union, and I'm assuming they probably run it by their legal counsel, then it's fine with me.
They are definitely okay with it.
Fine with me.
And we worded it in such a way to take that into consideration. I am familiar with now with what you said, is this is mainly just restrictive information, the kind of thing that was disclosed either on or off duty. That was what the intent of it was, and I
Yeah.
think they were assured that that was the case.
And I agree with it. I remember,
But I know, I'm familiar with the case that you're
yeah,
speaking
the
about.
city of Chicopee, you may be familiar with it, had a clerk was murdered at Cumberland Farms on East Street in Chicopee, corner of East Street and, I think, Belcher Street. I used to go in the store myself when I worked there. And he took pictures with his cell phone of the murder victim, who was a female clerk. And there was a big hullabaloo over that. Obviously, he had no right to do it. It was totally wrong. And I would hate to see anything like that happen in Spencer. So I'm glad you've got language like that in there that basically
And that's
says up
primarily what it's
front,
meant for, those
Don't
kind
start
of
doing that.
instances. Right,
You
exactly.
know, don't go on the web and start talking about a murder or an accident or
If they
something.
want to criticize me, they can do it all day long.
But-
It's just like,
but I
I'm
mean,
taking
but-
offense to it. But no, I know what you're
so,
saying.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just a kind of nuts and bolts question,
Sure.
Chief. So would anyone in the department who wants to post need to identify himself or herself as being a member
The
of the
only ones that are
department?
gonna, I mean, yes, as far as the identification, so no posting could be, it's gonna be on our Twitter and so they're gonna be police, but they're only gonna be myself, the two sergeants are gonna be the ones that are gonna be doing the posting, so it's gonna be limited, it's gonna be restricted as far as the information. If somebody wants to make a post, they'll communicate that to either myself, to one of the sergeants, and then we'll make the post.
Oh, I see. So it's not like a blog.
Exactly,
This is where
exactly. It was intended to be, it's gonna be an official passing along of the information, kind of the same kind of restrictive manner that we do the community notification messages. So everything's gonna have an opportunity to have the spell check, the grammar check, and what is the intent of what we're doing? You know, is there a public safety imperative here or some information that needs to be passed along to the public? So I think at least initially, we may expand that. But initially, until we get going, until we all, because we're all baby boomers in the sense that we're not 100% as far as how this goes too, so we may have to tap into some of our millennials to determine, you know, the techniques on what to do and stuff. But as far as just the overall approval of the message that goes on, it'll be through me, through one of the sergeants.
Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, one quick question. I thought we had three sergeants.
We do.
You said two.
Only two have been trained right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. You had me worried for a
No,
minute.
we're all right.
Thank you. I don't want to slide backwards, Chief.
And maybe with Adam's help here, what, we learned some lessons with the page that the fire department has. Are we taking a lot of those policies? Have they been, are there some unique situations between
I would
fire
say
and
this
police?
policy is a little different. It comes through the chief and through his association and it's tailored a little differently. I haven't had any reports of, misuse or, utilization of the policy in an enforcement situation, so I expect that, the fire department's complying with the policy. And it was good use, again, bringing up pictures of people's fires and different things like that. I think appropriate and misappropriate was something they needed to address going into it, and I think the chief's trying to do the same thing. But
And we haven't had
tailored in
any
a different format.
violations up to this point, as far as, I haven't had any complaints regarding officers' personal use of their their Facebook and Twitter accounts and things of that nature, but since I wanted to initially, since it's new for me, and new for some of the supervisors, that we wanted to make sure that it was really controlled tightly initially until we could see how it works, how the reaction is, before we expand it, so.
So you must already have some rules in place for people using, reporting any sort of,
Well, exactly.
in the police department on their own pages.
You mean as far as officers having their own?
Yes.
No, there isn't right now, it's unless something fell within an ethical violation or a criminal violation right now.
Okay.
That's guided by state law, we don't have anything as far as officers. This will be the first. This will also address not only what we're gonna be doing as a department, but also what the officers can and can't do with their own personal.
Okay.
It's not
Okay,
what they
that's
can do
helpful.
on our site, but what they do on their own.
Okay, so I gotcha, all right. So it's covering a
Exactly,
Couple-
covers
couple
both,
different
what we can do, what we plan on using it for, what we can and can't do with our site, and then what the employee should or shouldn't do with their own site. And it's mostly just common sense stuff that they shouldn't be doing anyway, and I don't think any of them are, and I think that's why it pretty much went through the union without much redaction. So, I think they were confident that the members were adhering to what it was, and what I was asking was for their own good and for the good of the community and from a public safety prerogative, that it was gonna be something that was beneficial, not strict their free speech in any way.
Thanks, sir.
Sure.
Separating those out for me.
Do we need any motion?
It's the same thing, I'll add it to the meeting on, the first business meeting in August. Do you feel the need to add it to the workshop next week, or just put it on the August meeting?
Put it on just in case, please. I don't think we're going to discuss it, but
Yes,
if
I
one of
would
us
agree.
sees something or hears something from the public, it's just to have it on there safely. Chances are we'll pass over it.
All right, so would you like the chief in attendance on Monday night? Just let him know now.
If he can be here, that would be fine. Would you please make that the first item so that if we don't spend, whatever time we spend on it or don't spend, he can then leave?
For the workshop?
Yeah, it's a workshop. I have the local community addiction policy that you mentioned too, and this policy.
So it'll follow.
And then John and I had discussed possibly the Economic Development Committee coming in. So I'll just put the public safety stuff
When's the
first.
next meeting scheduled after that where you would address it? You could also we could also, if there was something that came up, we could also address it before the next.
Well, it's going to be on for that.
However you want to handle it.
Business, first meeting, August 8th. So it's definitely going to be on August 8th. They both will definitely be on August 8th for proposed adoption. But if you wish to have a further discussion before then, I'll put it on the agenda for next Monday.
Let's
It'll be next Monday.
put them both on there.
So it's on both.
And please, like I said, please make this one first,
Thank you, sir.
okay?
Can do.
Nice, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, thank you. Night, Jerry. Stu.
Really could say so tight, that would be good.
That's right.
See you later.
That concludes new
Far away
business.
from that.
All right.
So now we're on to old business, and we have to,
Nope, we got one more.
Delegate,
Sorry, John.
Delegate, John.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm H&I, sorry. That's right, we have subject of our CMRPC delegate and alternate delegate for fiscal year 2017.
Correct. On an annual basis, we are able to name 2 official delegates and an alternate delegate as part of our representation to Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. One delegate is appointed by the planning board, and the second delegate is appointed by your board, and an alternate is also appointed by your board. So in our current delegate, appointee from the Board of Selectmen is Stephen Tyler, our Utilities and Facilities Superintendent. I don't think I have to tell you the work that he's been done and the relationship that he's had there, what he's been able to do in terms of funnel funds and projects to this community. So I would recommend reappointing him as a delegate.
Great.
And I believe last year's alternate was Selectman Gary Woodbury. So, it's up to Gary, I think, if you guys would like to discuss a change there. probably be up to the guy who's been serving in that seat. And then, again, the planning board will appoint their own designee. So it's based on population, in terms of how many delegates we get, so the smaller towns may only have one delegate. So we are fortunate enough to have two. Delegates are asked to sit on different committees. They have Physical Development Committee, Executive Committee, and other committees through Central Mass Planning Organization, like the CMMPO, which Steve sits on, which, again, is key to the TIP process, and other feasibility study work and other things that he's been able to obtain. So, again, that's it in a nutshell. I think Steve is a great fit, and it's up to Gary if he wants to continue.
I would prefer if somebody else took this with everything that's going on right now. I kind of have a full plate.
I think it's a light lifting, if you will, for
It
whoever
is.
is in this, because
It is.
Steve is very dedicated at serving, so it would be, the possibility of maybe once a year,
If you
when
like.
they're gonna discuss something regarding Spencer, and Steve's out of state, and we need an alternate delegate to go and sit in his place, we have that opportunity, but since I've been here, and since Steve's been in that position, since he's been here, we haven't had that case, so it's pretty light lifting
Steve
for
stays
whoever
with it
does it,
pretty
but
good.
it's important to have, as we know, going back to the Maple Street days when we're looking at that project, that by having a delegate at a particular meeting meant, multi-million-dollar project fell into our lap, so.
And again, I will say, if somebody can't do it, I'll stay doing it. The only time you really have to be there is, God forbid, if Steve's on vacation when they have a
Correct.
meeting, so.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, when are the meetings?
They vary.
vary.
Again,
Well,
this,
day a
this,
week, time,
well, what I'd say, Ralph, is this isn't assigning you to a particular committee. They have multiple committees that meet at different times. So Steve happens to sit on one of, say, 10 different committees that this organization
Right.
has. The meetings that he has tend to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe later, maybe 5 in the afternoon. Occasionally, there may be a 10 a.m. It depends on what they're working on. So this doesn't assign anyone to a particular committee. What it does is it basically assigns, we have to have delegates through the organization, and based on our delegates' attendance at meetings, we then get, in return, free planning hours, if you will. Current hours, we're working on a study at Wilson Farm with Carl Wilson. So, our attendance means we get hours back, and obviously, there's other networking and opportunities and benefits as part of that. So you will not be assigned a particular committee as an alternate. Steve will get aligned with a particular committee, and then based on that, we'll see if there's a need to attend a meeting, if not.
Right.
well, I probably have the most availability of anybody, because I'm basically semi-retired, so if, unless John wants to do
I think it's
it.
between, I was gonna say, my schedule's also flexible, but I'm happy to share that, have you do that. Rob.
Whoever, I mean, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. If John wants to do it, I'm okay with that too.
Vote, but you guys will have to vote the delegate and the alternate, so.
No, it says you
First,
appoint.
no.
No, I don't.
We actually vote on them. First, I'd make a motion to.
Oh, yeah, you're correct, Ralph. In the bold, the Board of Selectmen or town manager appoints the second delegate and
Right,
alternate.
but
So
we
an
can
option is for
see.
me, but historically, we've always had the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint.
We always did the first, the primary was
Correct.
Steve.
Right.
Whatever you've been doing is fine with me.
Well, I think one clarification, town manager means in a town like Southbridge, where they
Right.
have a town council, and the town manager has certain authorities that town administrator
different.
does not have, like
Little
signing
different.
contracts and other things,
No,
so.
we're splitting hairs.
Yeah, trust me. We split them. But yeah,
So, that being said, I make a motion to name Steve Tyler as our delegate.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to name Mr. Selectman Hicks as an alternate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Raoul.
Okay,
Thanks,
you're
Ralph.
welcome.
Okay,
I take it I'd get a call from Steve if he couldn't go.
yeah.
always,
Absolutely.
Great. Okay.
And again, it hasn't happened
ever.
Yeah, but it could. But at least it'll provide an
If he's
opportunity to at
been-
least, even have an email back and forth with him about what he's working on, what he's doing. Provides an opportunity for education from between staff and board members. I think it's great.
Okay,
Okay, now back to some old business, and that would be to return to the right-of-way takings for the Main Street TIP project.
Correct.
Adam?
So as you know, we've been working for the past year on the Main Street TIP project. Actually, it's been going on for 5 years. When we originally were placed on the 2011/2016 Transportation Improvement Program through CMRPC. So for the last 5 years, we've been working on designing a project that will improve from just outside the front of the building here, a little bit upwards towards Grove Street, down to, down through Main Street, down to the downtown, extending a little bit up Pleasant, and then all the way down to High Street. A major rehabilitation project. Based on our design effort, the way this grant program works, money comes from the federal government through the Federal Highway Administration, gets funneled to the State Department of DOT, and then funds get allocated to the different regional planning organizations, like the one we just appointed several members to. That organization has a committee that selects projects based on meeting certain criteria. Main Street project was selected and put on in the year for 2016. If we funded the design ourselves, we'd be in line for construction, which has been approved at $3.5 million. So it's a grant that we've been able to acquire. We are in line for funding for this year. If we don't go through the necessary process and have all our ducks in a row, we lose $3.5 million and we're no longer on the list. Not even on the list is from 2017 to 2021, which is the next 5-year program, which we're trying to get on for Charlton and other projects. So we're at a critical point where the design has been approved. It's gone through the process of several public hearings. The State Department of Transportation has approved it. And what we've done is we've outlined all the possible temporary construction easements and permanent easements that we would need for drainage or other. Obviously, the major early alignment with Pleasant Street. There's boards out in the main hall upstairs, which have been on display for quite some time. We're all aware of the realignment of Pleasant Street, and that was a requirement from DOT to basically improve congestion, flow, and air quality and other issues in the downtown. So as part of this project, which extends, say, 1,100 linear feet, we have, as you saw in my email today, up to 50 different types of easements. So we're fortunate to have many of them donated by the property owners. We've had several that, because they were complicated or just the inability to get a hold of people, we've gone through the process of having to have appraisals done on particular properties. We've got permission at the town meeting back in May, authorized us to take these properties, or not take these properties, these portions of properties, either temporary or permanent easements. There's nothing that we're gonna own in fee, everything is an easement. And we have authorization from the town meeting to do that, and then we have authorization to appropriate funds to set aside that paid for the appraisals on those properties, and also pay for any proposed damages. So you have seen today, I have an original copy, it's 18 pages, so if anyone would like to see, but it basically listed obviously the easements, the linear dimensions, the square footage. For example, temporary easement 1, a portion of a parcel of land located at 1 High Street, owned by 1 High Street LLC, containing approximately 144 square feet from baseline station 100 plus 50 to station 100 plus 79. So there's approximately 40 to 50 of those. You saw the language today. It's very simple language, and at the very end, there was the 10 or so that had awarded damages. Some were very small in the $240 range, all the way up to the major one that's associated with the bank parking lot. So the process from here on out would be a vote to process or to authorize the order of taking. We would then record the layout plans for the project, for the easements, along with the order of taking. We record them at the Registry of Deeds. Immediately upon thereafter, we would pay the damages to the appropriate property owner for those that have that case. And then from there, the Department of Transportation will issue us a right-of-way certificate, which will allow us to go out to bid or for advertising this fall, say October. And then, obviously, bids come in, and then we are fortunate enough, hopefully enough, to start construction in the spring of 2017. So again, there's not much discretion on our part, as I put in my email today. The DOT, which is authorized to $3.5 million for our expenditure, is based on this document, these orders of takings. If we do not take these properties, take these easements on these properties, then we don't move forward with a $3.5 million project. In addition, the amounts that we're paying for damages are non-negotiable at this point. They are based on a third-party appraisal, and based on that, that's what we have to pay. We don't have authorization to pay any more than that. So there's not really much discretion. I'm happy to answer questions on this document, process, or project, but you're pretty familiar with what's been going on for the past year, and for some of you, 5 years. So,
Questions for the town administrator?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the request to start the land takings.
Second.
Before we vote, I just want to clarify, Adam, you said that these are all easements, including the largest there, the
Correct.
property of the bank, that is officially regarded
it's
as...
officially a permanent easement. We
Okay.
do not own the land in fee.
That's an interesting distinction. I was not
Yep.
aware
Yep.
of
But we
that.
do, and just to follow up before we do vote, some of the TE is temporary easement.
Correct.
And then
The regular E is an easement,
E is
and the PEU is
easement.
is a utility
Yeah.
easement. So you're locating guide wires or
Okay.
I
telephone.
did read through it.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
I'm fine.
Yep.
Okay.
But nothing in fee. We're not, like, I think the last time the town did an eminent domain taking where they actually took the property, I believe, is the parking lot next to the post office.
It is.
Okay, so these are all easements. Most of them are for construction, and they're for a period of 5 years. That's the temporary ones. And the other ones that are permanent, either for utility access, so you can access drainage, electrical outlets, electrical conduit, other things like that. And
But
obviously,
they're all easements at that
and obviously the
point.
realignment.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Okay.
I can live with the easements.
The second there, and ready for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
great, thank you. We look forward to starting that project. That'll be our next big construction project. And maybe
More
others.
dust,
Or maybe others.
maybe. We hope.
A town administrator's report?
I don't have anything right now, other than the fact that we're just wrapping up, obviously, the end of our fiscal year and beginning a new fiscal year. From a budget standpoint, we are going through what we call the year-end closeout through the accounting department and through all our departments. And eventually, that will lead to preparation for our audit, and eventually figure out what kind of surplus we have, any free cash, or any problems that we have, obviously. And then as we move forward towards the fall, we'll again pick up the budget process. The fall town meeting gives us an opportunity to revisit any things that has changed since we approved the warrant back in April, approved the town meeting in May. Many things change, as we all know. Sometimes we have additional out-of-district vocational children with transportation costs. Also, the state budget is always in flux until it's finally voted on. And as you know, the governor's recently signed his part of the budget with his vetoes. Now it's back in the hands of the legislature to review. So based on that, we're holding our breath on state aid and Chapter 70 and other items moving forward. And then we'll make necessary adjustments leading up to the fall. I spoke to Mary Brainey today, the Finance Committee Chairman. We expect to pick up again in August or in September, having Finance Committees and making necessary adjustments, proposing a fall special town meeting, which is either at the end of October or early November. After that, we would then certify our tax rate, and again, which will not include anything to do with the $19 million debt exclusion that was approved. And then after that, we'll get our tax bills out before the end of the year, our actual tax bills out. So that process, as most of you are familiar with, is about to begin, say, based on now with the closeout of the fiscal 16 budget, if you will, in the beginning of the fiscal 17 cycle. That's all I have.
Okay, board liaison reports. Oh, the-
Oh, you're all set.
No, he's right.
Reports
You're
first.
You're right, John, keep going.
All right.
I have a couple issues relating to the schools, but Ralph, would you like to begin with just the building needs?
Well, we held another meeting last week, and we primarily talked about the work that was done by the previous building committee. And we're hoping to set up a meeting with the architect who drew the plans for the renovation and the addition. The only fly in the ointment, Mr. Chairman, is that the architectural firm that the school district is working with was bought out by another company. Now, the people who worked on the Proudy project went to work for that other company. I'm somewhat optimistic that they'll be willing to come out and meet with us because they have an investment in time and money in what they've done. With school construction, it's not uncommon for an architectural firm to not make money or make very little money on actual drawing up of the blueprints, if you will. The money they make is when the construction project comes to fruition, and then they supervise, have their role in supervising and making any changes that need to be done. And that carrot, if you will, is what I think will get them out to Spencer to talk with us about what they did, answer our questions, et cetera. In the meantime, we asked the superintendent to make sure that these are the need, that the project that has been done, to work on the project that's been done to date is still relevant in terms of the needs of the district. This work was concluded about, I want to say, 4 years ago. Although it's not that long ago, the way that education has been moving quickly, it's light years. There has been discussion on the school committee and perhaps introducing an additional Chapter 74 program or two, Chapter 74 being the state's vocational education program. If in fact they do that, it would be something that was offered, not offered by BayPath, because you cannot, if you belong to a Voc Tech school district, you cannot run the same program that they're running. But there are other vocational opportunities out there that I think are perhaps worth pursuing. So that's another question that has to be answered. In the meantime, we're hoping that we're going to be able to be in a position where we can meet with the architect and get some questions answered. And in the meantime, the superintendent hopefully will come back to us, I'm sure she will, and let us know if that plan is still viable, or do there need to be changes made in order to bring the school district where they want to go with that particular building. We also talked about the possibility of looking at other buildings, and the general consensus was that the building committee's role is strictly David Prouty High School. The other buildings within Spencer are not in our scope of sequence of work right now. Also, personally, I feel the town can absorb only one school building project at a time. I'm not even sure that major changes would have to be made to the other two buildings at this time. There may be some little tweaks that need to be made, and if that happens, the school district should probably be looking at coming to the capital committee here in Spencer, if it's Wire Village, or if it's Knox Trail, the capital committee of Spencer plus the East Brookfield Board of Selectmen, given the fact I'm not sure that they have a capital committee of their own. So that's where we're at.
Nice.
Questions?
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you for that report, Ralph.
You're welcome.
Another related item with the school committee, it connects with the town-wide yard sale, which, I've been working on for almost a year, trying to find a, pardon?
I heard you made it.
Well, it's certainly, we hope so. We are at the point where the Spencer East Brookfield PTA has expressed a strong desire to partner with this ad hoc grassroots committee that we've been working with, trying to sell the concept for almost a year. A very energetic group of gals, and really whose objectives to create a sense of community, to return, to raise money, in their case, to fund, programs for kids and families, right in line with what our ad hoc group wanted to see happen, supporting kids and families in town-wide programs. So, given in light of the policies of the school committee are such that they have to, even though they are a separate nonprofit organization, they have to bring their proposal before the school committee, because it's going to be donated to the school, and with recent concerns about accountability of funds and all, they want to make sure they know who's involved and what it's going to cost, and liability issues and everything, and they've done a great job. And I have to say that Frank White, who you know from the
Nice.
Sewer, get them mixed up, has been very helpful, very supportive in offering the Knights of Columbus building as a central location for people that might want to set up outside their own property. So a lot of pieces have come together. It was feeling like for a while, like it was just too late for it to happen this year. But they stepped forward, and I hope we'll have a formal approval from the school committee tomorrow night. It's a great group, and it's delighted they see it in line with their goals. So
Nice.
I'll be meeting with Parks and Rec tomorrow night, talking about some program issues, and my hope is to have Parks and Rec, like the Economic Development Committee here before the board in an August meeting to, just talk about their visions for the Parks and Recs and the facilities and some of the program ideas we have cooking and possible regionalization efforts. So that's moving along there. And Economic Development Committee will be meeting Wednesday, and I'm hoping to have as many members as we can at the workshop just to talk about all the things we've got on our table, much like the discussion that the chief was, finally in a position to reveal. Well, there are a lot of things happening in the economic development area, which I think will be very exciting when people learn about those. So there's a lot of work under the surface there. So any other liaison reports? Doesn't appear. Any further citizen input? We've exhausted all our citizens except for 3.
Still awake.
And this young gal here, what's your name again, sweetheart? Cheyenne. She's here with her aunt, with Lynn, because she's has to do a report on government. So she gets to be the first and the last in attendance. So she sees the entire Board of Selectmen process. Mickey, you want to join up in a few years, perhaps?
We're almost done, Cheyenne, we're almost done.
Well, it's nice you hung in there. Any other staff? Board member comments?
I just want to say thank you to you and Ralph, helping out this Sunday in the town hall. It's looking very lovely out there.
Killed a few more weeds.
You did?
Yeah, got some mulch put down. Yeah, it really looks nice and colorful. People seem to be enjoying the look of the town hall, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we have a request for executive session meeting. Now, if I could have someone,
Motion to go into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss preparation for the contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
and that requires a roll call vote. Mr. Hicks?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And we will not be reconvening in session, so we will, so we'll adjourn this meeting, not to return tonight, but
We'll
next
reconvene
month.
in open session.
Just to adjourn.
To adjourn, John.
We have to,
We will reconvene.
oh, I see, to adjourn. I got you,
Right.
so I can't
Right.
adjourn without,
Right.
until we
That's
come
all.
back. Okay.
Right.
Thank you for that. I'm still learning, folks. Thank you.
All right, fine, John.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Aaron. Good night, everybody.
Yep, good night, everyone.
Good night.